This is the Business Experience Show, where we talk to entrepreneurs about the challenges and successes of starting, owning, or operating a business.
Welcome back to the Business Experience Show. I am Lisa Caprelli. With us is producer Brian Gaps. We are here with attorney Robert Miller of Miller & Associates. Website is expertlawfirm.com. Welcome, Robert.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, Robert. What type of law do you specialize in at Miller & Associates?
Our firm specializes in DUI defense, specifically anything related to drunk driving, including DMV hearings regarding a driver's license from a DUI.
Obviously, the best way to handle a DUI is to not get one in the first place. Obviously, you're not here promoting drunk driving. You like for people to be responsible drinking and have responsible habits.
Of course, and it's better for society overall if people don't drink and drive, but it still happens. DUI is the number one crime in California.
So once someone gets a DUI, obviously tell us what happens, what the process is when you get a DUI, when someone gets stopped by the police.
Sure. If the police stop a driver for any reason, they're trained to look for symptoms of intoxication. Mm-hmm. Typically, the things that they observe first are bloodshot, watery eyes, an unsteady gait or balance, problems coordinating, and, of course, the smell of alcohol on the breath. Those are things that would give them cues to have the person step out of the car and proceed further.
And what are some things that people don't know that the law is in their protection when they get stopped?
Well, there are a number of rights that the Constitution gives people overall related to DUI arrests or any arrest or investigation. Those are usually in the 5th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution, and that includes the right against unlawful searches and seizures and the right to due process. But most of the DUI interaction when a police pulls over someone is voluntary. So things like admissions of drinking, submitting to breath tests in the field sobriety tests like the walk the line or balance or coordination tests, those are all voluntary, which most people don't know.
And I think people are confused because there are some procedures that are required, or you lose your license. We all hear those scare messages. Mm-hmm. So what are those? We need to distinguish between those and what's voluntary.
Sure. Well, your license in California is a privilege, not a right. So as part of the process of applying for a license or even renewing it, you agree to a number of things in that application that would allow the DMV to automatically suspend your license if it provides a public safety danger. So some of the ones that are in the news are for people that are elderly that have many points, or they're considered negligent operators by the DMV, people that are epileptic or suffer seizures at the road, and of course people that are driving under the influence, especially second, third, fourth, or more offenders. Mm-hmm. The DMV can revoke their license entirely based upon their pattern.
But are there some penalties for not cooperating with some parts of the DUI process?
Yeah, absolutely. Even on a first-time DUI, the DMV has the right to automatically suspend a person's driving privileges or driver's license for 1 year just for a refusal to take an evidentiary test. That is a test that can be used as evidence in a court proceeding, which would be in California a blood or a breath test.
Okay, and the breath test has to be administered at the police station?
Yes, and there is a state testing law. It's Title 17 of the Administrative Code that authorizes and also defines how breath testing or blood testing can be done. That requires that any breath machine has to be maintained and calibrated within a margin of error of 0.02. So someone that measures a 0.08 could actually be anywhere from a 0.06 to a 0.10, and also has to be kept in a climate-controlled room, and has to be tested regularly with a standard, which is a vial that has a known amount of alcohol in it.
So a field sobriety breathalyzer test is not evidentiary?
Yeah, those fields, which the law enforcement calls PAS or preliminary alcohol screening devices, are just used to justify the later blood or breath test. They are used for the presence of alcohol, not so much for the actual quantity of alcohol in a person's system.
And I don't know if this is a myth or not. One thing I hear is when you get pulled over by a policeman, you've been drinking, is you are supposed to cooperate. I mean, is that because if you don't, it's automatic, you go to jail. So what are some pros and cons to what my myth is probably?
Sure, and this is where it kind of takes your best people skills to deal with that situation, which of course is going to be stressful. So if you get pulled over, the attorney answer, what attorneys want people to do is to refuse to answer any questions about drinking, and you can always say, an attorney told me not to do that, or not to answer that question, and to refuse any field sobriety tests or any field breathalyzer tests, because those are all voluntary. Now, of course, that's going to be a judgment call on your part. If you know that you haven't been drinking at all, you may just want to submit to a breath test and have it come out 0 and be over with it. But if you think that you might have alcohol in your system, then it's probably better to request a evidentiary test at the station, which means that they're going to take you to the station for that blood or breath test. And that will give you some time for the alcohol to burn off if you still have alcohol in your system. And then with the margin of error of either of those tests, that would create additional defenses. And one of the main points legally is that because a test of your blood or breath is actually a search of your body, that invokes certain constitutional rights regarding search and seizure. So they have to justify that with some actual probable cause, and that's what the field sobriety tests are designed to do. If you don't take the field sobriety test, then it's easier to kick that out of court later.
Thank you. And another thing that may be true or false is people think, well, if you get a first DUI, you probably shouldn't use an attorney because of the expense that are incurred. It's expensive already getting a DUI with all the court fees and all that stuff that's involved. I've never gotten a DUI, so I don't know. I'm going by what I've heard.
That's a good thing.
Thankfully, yes. And again, responsible driving, that's what we're encouraging on the Business Experience Show, responsible drinking and driving. And I always tell I know many business owners that, I'd say, why don't you just get a driver? Like, if you drank so much, if you're over the limit, just pay a cab, get a driver. It's not worth the hassle of going down the road. But however, for people that do get a DUI, they have an attorney like Robert Miller. He has a free guide for you called the DUI Survival Guide, what to do and how to get help. It's absolutely free. It's on his website, expertlawfirm.com.
And one of the things people think about, you said to go to the station is probably the best course of action and have the test conducted there.
You're saying, refuse the breathalyzer, you're going to end up going to the station.
Yeah, or politely decline and go to the station. And that would be in the situation where you think you might have alcohol in your system.
Right.
The studies show that people are bad at calculating exactly where they are as far as their own limits. So, even though people should know how much they have in their system.
Give me an example of a story where someone wasn't drinking a lot and it really could have ruined their life and you helped them.
Sure. Well, there are a number of cases that I've handled where people have been even above the legal limit, and when we were able to take a look at the maintenance and calibration records of the breath machine and show that they were in fact below the limit, or that they had some contaminating factors, things like airbag dust, acetone from paint, Listerine strips, mouthwash, all those things can cause a false positive. There's something in the scientific journals that is shown repeatedly that even having some things like white bread in your mouth or having dental fillings or dental work or soy sauce is a big thing that will do a false positive on breath testing. So I've had at least over 100 cases of first-time offenses dismissed or reduced to infractions based on a number of problems with the tests in cases.
Okay, so I imagine you appear before many of the same judges over and over, and your arguments are I thought your arguments would be the same, but it sounds like there are enough variations with each case to argue a strong, unique defense with every case.
There are, and that's usually where where a good attorney will kind of take a look and turn over every stone to make sure that everything's covered in the case. Typically, me or an investigator will visit the scene where the stop was made or the field sobriety tests were performed, if those were performed, and then do a subpoena for a number of different things that might lead to defenses in the case.
And I want to back up just a little bit, because one of the things that would be going through my mind is if the police were to pull me over and I have all this going on, I'm thinking, what happens to my vehicle if I insist on being tested at the police station? And will I incur towing charges, even if there's nothing that comes of it? What happens with that? Yeah,
that's a great question. Typically the police will offer to book your keys with you as into evidence, or take those to the police station and leave your car in a safe location. But the police do have the right to have a tow yard get the vehicle, and that can be very expensive for some people.
Are DUI cases typically plea bargain, or do they often go to trial? or it depends?
Well, the state of California has statistics on that, and almost 90%, it's 87% of cases overall in criminal law don't go to trial. They usually end up in a settlement or plea bargain at some point. And a plea bargain usually depends on, there's on both sides. On the defendant or driver's side, they have to be comfortable with whatever they're pleading to before they accept it. And they always have the leverage of going to trial, which is an expensive and time-consuming thing for the prosecutor. And on the prosecution side, of course, they're the ones bringing the case, so they can continue that case as a DUI as long as they feel necessary.
And as a result of a DUI citation, are there two processes involved? Is there a criminal process and a DMV process?
Yes, and that's something that may change in the future because the state of California is looking to consolidate things and cut the budget. But currently, the DMV has jurisdiction over your driving privileges, so everything related to driving, it takes place at a separate DMV hearing, which is a administrative matter in front of an administrative law judge. And then everything related to the court process, which would be everything else other than license consequences, that would be jail or probation, alcohol schools, community service, those are all done through the court.
And you have 10 days to request a DUI hearing. Is that something I saw in your guide? And so you'd have to act quickly on this.
Yeah, and that's a very short time period. A lot of people will get a court date 30 days in the future and forget about the 10-day time period. But that's what the DMV requires for you to save your license.
Robert, one thing I see, I'm friends with you on Facebook, Robert Miller. You post Facebook's postings about DUI checkpoints and for what people to look out for. What are people appreciative of that?
Yes. Now, a lot of people have said that that's really counterproductive for my business, but I think it's good for people to know so they don't get a DUI in the first place where checkpoints are set up. It
seems like you handle much of your marketing internally and take advantage of free online media. Has your marketing budget decreased? Have you ever had a marketing budget?
I have. At the peak, I used to spend $200,000 a year on Google AdWords alone.
Wow!
Plus about $100,000 a year in Yellow Page advertising, and that would be around 2003, 2004. But there are a number of things, including my profile page for the business on Facebook, my Twitter account, that get your name out there, and people feel more comfortable if they see that you know what you're talking about, and B, if they feel that they know you a little bit better.
I know that you've spoken around the country as an expert for attorneys and how to take advantage of online media and online free tools.
That's right. Yes, I've spoken to a number of bar associations about that and how to use technology for your marketing.
So I know your main niche is helping people with DUIs. Again, your free ebook, if you're listening and someone could benefit, it's called the DUI Survival Guide, What to Do and How to Get Help. It's on Robert Miller's website, expertlawfirm.com. It's a free ebook. You specialize in DUI. Do you give attorney referrals if someone comes to you, they need a family attorney, they need a bankruptcy attorney, you're able to give that good advice?
Yeah, and one of the things about having a high internet profile is that people will come to me for a number of different referrals, and so I'm happy to refer people to attorneys that I personally know in other areas of law, definitely.
And just to clarify, we are talking specifically about California law when it comes to the DUI information.
That's true, and every state has a different set of laws, so this would only be from California. Your office,
it sounds like you keep busy with the DUI market. Where do you see your career going in the next 3 to 5 years? And are you looking to train other people, other lawyers to help you? It sounds like you're an expert and people come to you. Is there a time that you have to turn away business?
Yeah, I do limit myself just based on how good a client service that I can give. I limit myself to 25 cases or less. Uh-huh. I do have a law partner also who has the same limit. And one of the things that I'm kind of big on is mentoring or giving back. So we always have mentors in some of the big law schools in Orange County. I'm mentoring someone from Chapman and someone from UCI Law School right now.
Great.
And training them and how this type of business works.
A lot of attorneys in this field and others use scare tactics to get you to sign with them, but you just seem to go in the opposite direction where you offer calm and informative guidance. Is that just part of your nature?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the scare tactic approach. A lot of attorneys will say, "Are you going to jail unless you hire me?" And I think that's misleading and just sets things off on the wrong foot.
Robert, give us some final tips for the public on things they could do to not drink and drive.
Sure. Well, the best way to not get a DUI is not to be above the limit in the first place. That requires when you go out, you drink a lot of water. If you eat something before you drink, not after, that makes a big difference. And, of course, if you make arrangements for transportation or someone to be your designated driver.
And say no. I want to stress out there, but sometimes it's a social thing. People stress, here, have another drink. Say no. Say no. I say no all the time. My limit is 1 because I know my body can't handle it. I'm okay at saying no. If you want Robert Miller's ebook, DUI Survival Guide, What to Do and How to Get Help, go to expertlawfirm.com. Thanks for being with us.
Do you need to sell your house quickly? Do you need to sell your house today for all cash with no agents, no fees, no fix-up, no endless showings and confidentially? Then welcome to All Cash Offer, where selling your house is as easy as making a phone call. We do the rest. We buy any type of real estate for all cash, can close the escrow within 7 days or sooner. Or you take advantage of our full price offer. You heard right. We'll buy your house fast for full price. Call All Cash Offer now at 310-541-9300 or visit us at allcashoffer.com. That's allcashoffer.com.
Are you looking to shift your business in 2013? Would you like to know how to leverage social media to maximize your valuable time spent? Join us on January 19th from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Concordia University in Irvine and be part of the innovative Helping 100 Businesses for 100 Days program in alliance with Orange County cities, chambers, and local business groups. Sign up today. Go to thebusinessexperienceshow.com for the 100 Days sign-up form.